Hi everyone, I'm Malcolm, and today we managed to have a chance to sit down with Debbie and just ask her a little bit more about her work and what she does. So Debbie, why don't you introduce yourself to us and just let us know about the work that you do, and yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Debbie Ding. I'm an artist and technologist from Singapore, and I guess I call myself a technologist as well because I guess the work I make often uses technology, and I think also about the mediums in which the works are made. And I guess in the beginning, I used to make a lot of works about mapping, about psychogeography, and over the years, I'm still thinking a lot about how these things are made visual. And I guess I've also started using game engines to also produce the work that I make.
Cool. So, I mean, why don't you tell me a little bit more about how did these two things come together? These two things of technology and art. What inspired you to think about art in this way?
I guess it's because technology is everywhere. We got you use devices.
Yeah.
I think for me, the internet has always been there as well, in my life. So it seems pretty natural to be using technology and asking why exactly we present it in a certain way. For me, I didn't think of it as making art in the beginning. It's just that I wanted to make things and I didn't know where they would be put. And I think art seemed to be the place for the things I make. It's the most natural place for the things I make. Sometimes there isn't space to say that there are actually questions you want to ask of the world. And art has that space to ask them, to ask about the what ifs, or the alternate realities. I'm gonna bring you to this scene. This is actually meant to be the replica of a recent exhibition that I had in April at the National Gallery, which was a show with the Singapore Art Museum. So what you see here is the work that I just told you about. What you see here is the work with the Singapore River map, where I asked the audience to bring their stories of the Singapore River to it. So this is they're a bit small here, but there were about 1,700 stories in total, and it's kind of all archived. I think it also, when I was making that in 2010, it was just kind of right before that time. There were a lot of Singapore memory projects that came out, and a lot of it is the Singapore memory projects are very nostalgic and very earnest, but I kind of feel that there needs to be space for the things, for other kind of stories that don't necessarily have to be the good ones,
right.
Or there's a space for even the bad memories, whether they are bad, like unhappy ones, but also not sure if they can be verified, because a lot of things never go on the record as well.
Right.
I find that writing is the first way I translate it out, and from that, so I write it out first in a story maybe, or a piece of writing, and then I have to translate it into something, a drawing, and then I have to translate it again into something visual. So it is a process of translation, and sometimes in that translation, it's where you find that there is the translation cannot be perfect, and that's maybe also the interesting part of it, that when we translate it from one form to another, it changes as well, and that is the part also I'm trying to understand, how it changes. Yeah.
How does your art fit into Singapore's fabric? How does it contribute to Singapore's landscape of art?
I definitely feel like in the future, how people make art, it's not going to be so one way, it would be more interactive. That's why I'm saying that because I work in interactive, so obviously but yeah, because the whole world is there are devices, there are things that you can communicate really fast with, so I expect art to also follow.
Cool. All right, and our last question for the day, which would be, what do you hope to see in Singapore's art scene in the upcoming years?
I think it would definitely be actually physical space for the arts. So I think, one of the spaces that gave me a lot of opportunities in the early years was the substation. So I had I started working there in the beginning. I was just doing graphic design for them, but later, and I also made music, so I was a musician, and I used I held gigs there. And later I became an artist, and I had my first show there. I had many exhibitions there as well. So it was actually being able to explore in an experimental space like a substation that really helped me in the early years. So definitely I hope for the artists of Singapore in the future as well, that they can find these kind of nurturing experimental art spaces, because kind of like sometimes you really need that to be able to make work. And I think Singaporeans sometimes they there isn't always the space for process or for things that are a bit raw or a bit weird, a bit experimental. And I think art spaces also, whether they are collectives or whether they are physical art spaces, are pretty important for Singapore's art ecosystem. Yeah.